You're listening to Thought Villains with Derrick Gibson and Cara Castronuova.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Thought Villains with my co-host, Cara Castronuova. We have some interesting guests today.
Yes, we have Danni Presti from Max Public House and John Tabacco. He's running for Comptroller of New York. He's an independent Libertarian candidate. Derrick, as you know, is running for Governor of New York. And we really are glad that you guys are here with us today. We were just coming, all three of us, coming from a rally we did against political persecution here in New York City. You guys are politically persecuted. You're not in prison like the guys in D.C., but you definitely qualify in my book as people that are being politically persecuted here in New York. Obviously, you with your business, Danni. And John, you as...
What do you mean it's business? Guy was in jail twice.
Right, well, and in jail twice. But I think the biggest thing is, well, like a lot of people don't realize the government really could come after your business. You know, your ways of making a living. And you were just thrown in jail last week. I was very upset to hear that.
Forget the business. They threw the guy in the jail.
Well, let's talk about Danni. Why don't you tell us your story? Go ahead.
First, thanks for having me on, Derrick, Cara. It's always good to be in the same room with John.
Yeah.
Always also. It's still going real strong. So the city and the state, I'm not even sure which one tries to come at us harder. Might be the city at this point a little bit more. But
well, could you some people might not be aware because we're hoping that we're going to draw new audience members into this. A lot of us patriots in the community know who you are. You're like a legend. But for people who don't know, why don't you tell us a couple, like just really briefly, who you are and what your story is and how you came into this?
Yeah, so I'm Danni from Staten Island, born and raised there, and met this great guy called Keith McElarney. We crossed paths in the restaurant and bar industry, and we decided to open up our own little spot. Said, what could go wrong? Just open up a little business, a little pub, Irish pub on Staten Island. So the name Max comes from Keith, my partner Keith McElarney, and it took so long just for us to get open. We found out how corrupt the state liquor authority was even before COVID happened. And then once COVID came, the rest is history. We all know what happened. Businesses shut down, especially in New York, not once but twice. Keith and I had a really good feeling that we were going to get shut down when the second lockdowns happened in November. We were the only ones that just kept saying, guys, it's going to happen. We had a small restaurant and bar coalition group. I think there were about 100 to 150 of us between Staten Island and Brooklyn. And there were a few bars, the smaller places really, that were really hurting. And we kept saying, we feel like they're going to lock us back down and we're not going to survive. And then when it happened, we thought that we were going to have more of a backing. There were a bunch of restaurants and bars that said that they were going to open with us. As we know, they didn't. Keith and I had no idea what the pushback was going to be, if any, if people were going to hate us right off the start. But we said, when it comes down to it, we know what's right and what's wrong. And we said, somebody has to do something. Trust me, neither one of us, Keith and I, did not want to do it. We thought somebody else would have, and we always said we would join along. We both have young kids, said, you know what, let one of the younger guys, even though I'm kind of young, I have my 3 young kids, said, let somebody else do it, and then we'll support them. Nobody stepped up, and we said, this isn't right. Businesses are literally closing every single day. So we opened, and rest is history. I was locked up multiple times. I probably have just personally, I think, close to 30 criminal court summonses that are still due. Most of the major charges that they tried to come at me with felony charges, those have all been dismissed and dropped. But it seems as though just over and over again, the bar itself has so many. They issued Keith so many summonses, even though he was never even there.
They gave Lou, his attorney, they gave his attorney a criminal summons.
And then they dismissed them, then they reissued them to us, and it just seems as though there are no rules. They're just going by whatever playbook they want to. They're rewriting it as they go. And Now I can only, it only seems like we're moving in the wrong direction still. And there isn't anyone that's really stepping up saying that we're going to prevent this in the future. And it's really worrisome because people ask me all the time, Max is still shut right now.
So that you remember me telling me that if you step foot in the door, you get arrested.
Yes. So the closure order should be getting lifted shortly. But even at that, people ask me, you going to open up Max? Like, why don't you open it up? And I said, who wants to operate a business in New York City moving forward right now?
Right.
Why would I not want to leave?
I thought we already had an agreement on it. I've been trying to buy Max from these guys for like 6 months now.
It's been, we're working on ways to,
I want to make it
get it open, but it's really what's going to happen to all of these businesses?
Yeah,
And
that's a good
what's
question.
preventing another shutdown, and how would any of these businesses survive?
I want it to be a lockdown museum. You know, we'll just get all the
good name.
memorabilia
Like a
in
theme
there.
park.
People come to New York. They'll go there as like an
Like a theme
attraction.
park.
These are the guys that stood up.
The COVID
take
lockdown
pictures.
museum. You got the name of that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, thank you. There's so much respect to you for doing that. I mean, before when I met you, I was like, oh my God, this guy's like a hero to me. I had read about you, obviously, in the paper and seen you on the news, and I thought that was really heroic because I was surprised just at how many people were afraid to do what you did. Both Derrick and I were doing a lot of rallies, and I think you guys were the only ones doing that.
Right.
Danny, you should tell them, for all the viewers out there, I want a few laughs now. You should tell them how we were hopping fences to playing cat and mouse.
I think I have the video. I have some videos. I do.
No,
full
really?
Suit. I was very
in
impressed.
the suit.
Scott wasn't as great, nearly as graceful as John was hopping fences.
Right, you guys
but
could hop fences.
Yeah,
I don't
so-
think he could
so-
hop a fence. I don't picture that. Really, John? You could hop a fence?
in full
Adrenaline
I
suit.
gets
had
it
to
going,
do
you
3
can do
fences
anything.
every time we
He
did.
hopped a fence?
In full suit.
Full
Multiple
suit tie,
times.
that's right.
No
Right,
problem.
right.
I
That's
know
Adrenaline
you
will
did.
take you there.
Oh my
right.
God. So you guys are running from the cops?
So when
Why
they
wasn't I there?
when they were threatening to come in and get Danny and blah, 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 we had come up with a plan that I was gonna, even though they had no liquor license, I was gonna sublet the bar from them on the spot, and say now it's a TV studio and we don't need a liquor license. And I'm gonna stay here. So I was broadcasting from inside there. And then they came and this and that, and they were like, you can't go. They wouldn't let me in because the order said employees or management, employees and management. And I was an employee or a management.
Which that shouldn't even be a rule anyway. They made it up.
Agreed.
Yeah, as
They
they
made
go,
it up.
that's what they do.
Wouldn't even let
He
Senator
says,
Lanza
yeah, right.
in.
If John
They wouldn't let
Tabacco
him in.
goes inside, he's getting locked up, blah, 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 blah. So Danny says, if we go down to the laundromat, we go out through the back of the laundromat, there's 2 fences, one's high. We got to jump them, but we can go in the back door. I said, you can't curse, right? I said,
can curse all you want.
let's fucking go. Right? And he's like, you sure you're going to be able to hop these fences? And I said, let's go.
So the sheriffs are parked outside in front, and we just close the windows, and then John's broadcasting from inside.
That's right. And now all of a sudden the cops realize, because people got the Facebook on outside.
Right.
You know what I mean? They realize, wait, he was just standing here. Now how the fuck is he broadcasting from inside? Right? And then there was like crowd of people coming up and stuff. And a couple times we went out. Like out in the crowd like that. Like the cops didn't see us and this and that. And then back in. So that we were just going in and out by jumping the
They caught on to
fence.
y'all because it was on the news. They was saying that on the news, same thing you saying, but they caught on to it some kind of way. But it was
Yeah, but
funny,
they couldn't
but
figure it out.
It was
They couldn't
pathetic
figure it
at
out.
the same time.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Did you hear she said she doesn't think I could hop a fence?
I don't.
I have the video.
I
wish
want
you
that
had-
video.
I wish you had the
We need to
video.
play it. I do
Because
not
Cara
believe
thinks
it.
she's
I
like
do not
all
believe it.
Miss Pro Boxer.
I do
and
not.
she's
I
the
just
only
don't
one
think you
who
could hop a fence. I don't know.
No, I'm telling you, Scott.
I believe you
I'm
can
gonna
hop
bring
a
it up.
fence.
Scott had a lot of trouble. Scottlebado.
Scott, really?
I was like, yeah. I was like, Scott, what's going on?
Listen, so what are your plans from here? How do we go from here? What do we do? I know we got to elect new leaders. We got to do that, but you got to go deeper than that. You're already in the system. You're in the court system. You got about 30 tickets to deal with. In the meantime, you're struggling with something. You have kids. So what exactly do you do? Did the government help you out? Did the state government help you out? Is anybody helping out these businesses? That's what I want to know. I want to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, so nobody has still helped businesses. They gave Paycheck Protection Program, which was basically a redistribution of unemployment. It was saying, hey, here's some money to pay your employees paychecks. And here's this tiny amount of money that you can use towards your rent or your utilities. I'll tell you what, I still go and pick up the mail at Max. There are so many electric and gas bills. They can't turn them off yet because of it's still COVID's, I guess it's ongoing. But at some point, they're going to tell all these businesses, you have to pay your electric bill and this. I know for a fact there are businesses out there that have $50,000+ in utility bills. So what happens when National Grid and Con Ed say, these are due or we're turning it off? You know what's going to happen? These businesses are just going to say, I'm closing up now. So they're hanging in and surviving. But besides the Paycheck Protection Program and that emergency disaster loan, they gave us throughout everything, we received $4,000. That was it.
Wow, for a business.
For the emergency disaster loan through the SBA program, we received $4,000. That was it. No. So at what point do you say, hey, here's help? And more importantly, how do we know that these lockdowns are not going to happen again? Because I still have not heard anybody stepping up to the plate saying, I will fight against these lockdowns and support businesses and make sure that this doesn't happen. Because again, a lot of them are already closed. A lot of them have said they're not coming back. So now how do you keep and how do you bring back small business to New York City specifically and the state, but more specifically the city where so many were closed, when nobody's stepping up to the plate and ensuring or saying, I'm going to fight and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Right.
And they're not going to do it on both sides of the aisle. They're not going to do it. They're not speaking out on the Republican or Democrat side of the aisle. It's like you're out there, you're on your own, and that's it. You got to fight if you want to come back. You got to dig, you got to sell whatever you got and try to bring your business back. But like you said, you may open it back up, then a month later we might shut it down again. Yeah. So you done put your life savings and everything. Then you done dug in, put your wife's life savings in. Then you gonna come back again, and you just out there. So the government should pay Con Edison all your gas. They should pay all that, not leave it up to the business. If you shut the economy down, it's you, the government, that should pay that. They should pay your bills, and they should allow you to reopen with a clean slate.
All government
and that will help
fees
business out.
and everything and taxes were still due. The State Liquor Authority kept charging all of their fees. They never shut it back down. Not only were bars and restaurants not allowed to be open and serve liquor, but they were still charging their yearly fees. So all the bars and restaurants were still getting, hey, you owe us $3,500 for the year.
But you know
and we
why
said
they
we
did
weren't
that.
even allowed to serve liquor.
But you know why they did that? It may hurt you, but it's not. In the long run, they're going to get paid. So if they keep billing you, eventually the federal government gonna step in. They're gonna pay them. This is why.
And even
they
after, if I'm closed,
right?
Because then they're gonna say,
correct.
Hey, look at this.
You owed them exactly. It went
this.
on and on, even though you was closed. But the federal government gonna pay them. So the whole thing was a big scheme. It was a big scheme from the beginning to lock business down. I can understand this was something new that we didn't know about, but you had to use common sense approaches. Like I said, when the virus first came out, I said, "Look, let's do this. Let's shut the subway system down and sort this thing out." Because I know why in the subway in New York City, we elbow to elbow like Cal in a truck or whatever. So like, let's clear that out. Not stop the business, but limit the number of people that can go here or go there to work. These are the things we should have done instead of shutting the whole economy down. That was terrible. That was a mistake. Nobody don't want to own up to it, but it clearly was. If you look at some of the states that didn't shut down, they did very good. The businesses are still flourishing and doing good. But we made, in the state of New York, we made that mistake with the leadership we got. We have the leadership that wants money for them and whoever they governing for, because it's definitely not you, the businessman, definitely not me, the businessman. Landlords are suffering, they are struggling. Who's going to pay all those bills?
Well, the landlords, a bank's going to get blown up.
Yeah,
believe me when I tell you, when they
agree.
open in September, when the foreclosures start, when they reopen the bankruptcy and the court where foreclosures are allowed again, you got all of these landlords who are carrying these buildings, and they're just telling the bank, see you later. And, most, real property owners are responsible people. So they're probably trying to pay as much of their note and their carry as they can. You know what I'm saying? Right. But they're still behind, right? And if you ask me, they're talking about going possibly back to masks indoors soon. This bullshit variant is coming.
The Delta
variant. Right? So, stage one was really a test. How much power can they exert over us? Now you're seeing it in California, you're seeing it in Australia, you're seeing it in other places where they back to the right. So to differing amounts, they're already trying to lock people down again, and they're just warming us up for like October, November when it's cold out, it's flu season, and they're gonna shut it. I'm telling you,
That's
that's
happen
what they're
again. I
lining
keep
us up
telling everyone,
for.
just like before,
And
they're going to do it again.
That's
They
what
got
I mean.
away with it
happen.
the first time. What's going to stop them this time? You know?
Well, that's
we
the
showed
thing,
that
but
we were willing to do it.
I'm saying people like us, like you guys, thought villains, and doing the rallies for the prison. I try to talk about that today at your rally. That everybody like. You see the same cast of characters at a lot of different rallies because they care and they'll come. You know what I mean? And we're all trying to annoy our friends. Just come.
Right.
But and everybody's coming till the last minute. But to me, in these settings, and even going back to Max, you remember, I used to say to people, Saturday Night Live made a segment mocking me because I used, this quote, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak up. Then they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak up. They came for the Jews, I did not speak up. When they came for me, there was no one to speak up for me, right? And Saturday Night Live made that analogy, Pete Davidson, who's from Staten Island, okay,
Ugh, I do not like him.
who was my driver, okay, for some period. I knew his father my whole life. I grew up with him. Turned what I said into calling me like a Nazi, right? They made some, one guy compared getting a beer to being in the Holocaust, right? So that's how like these mainstream
They're clever with their words.
Yeah,
Very
that's not what I was saying. What I was saying to people even back then is you got to speak up now. Even if you're here and you think you're speaking up, you are here, but you got to take the message back to your peeps and bring them back to the next one. Like that's your piece. Well, I voted, JT. I paid my taxes, JT. I went to your rally, JT. Good. Do one thing more. Grab somebody, annoy the shit out of them, and get them here next time. And if everybody does these guys are probably too young, but, you tell two friends and so on and so on, there used to be a L'Oreal commercial that just keeps exploding,
Well, thanks for calling me too young. Right, Danny?
I'll take it.
I will too.
Well, I mean, this is a commercial from the 70s. You know what I mean? You guys were clearly not around then.
Yeah, but the media is crafty and clever. I'm telling you, they crafty and clever, and they push that narrative out there, and then people latch on to it. I'd be like, really? Can't you see what's going on? Like the phrase I use all the time, your eyes wide open, but you can't see. And that is what's happening throughout the United States of America, not only in New York. But getting back to your business out in Staten Island, we had planned to have a fundraiser at your business out there.
We did. We had the fundraiser, the first one.
Oh, the first one. That's right.
But we moved it somewhere else because
we moved it, but with your second bar, and it was great. We had so much fun karaokeing. West Virginia, mountain.
So listen, what are your plans? What are your attorney's plans? I wouldn't say your attorney, but what are your plans to try to get your business open back up, to try to get funding to carry on since the state government shut you down and all these tickets being dismissed? Don't you think that the state government needs to pay you for that? Don't you think you need compensation for that? That's what I would, actually, as an attorney, that's what I'll be looking at. Okay, all these tickets getting dismissed, so that means he's innocent. So that means that I done lost 3 months or 4 months of business. So who's going to pay me for that? Because you gave me these tickets that wasn't legal, that wasn't standing, and I done lost. And not only that, employees, you employ people. Look at them. They gone.
Yeah.
It's
you want to hear more of the games that they've been playing recently? So all of the summonses that we received back in December and January, they are finally due now. So it's coming up in June and July. So the court system is still a mess, and it's still been backed up, and most of the courts are still closed, but they're starting to open back up. So I have the best lawyers, Mark Fonte.
Who's your lawyer? Like, give him some shout outs.
Yeah, Mark Fonte, Lou Gellermino, best guys in the world. My actual lawyer, though, is Mark. I think Lou is Keats, but they both do everything with me.
In New York, the way the law firms work, especially criminal defense attorneys, they sometimes have to represent,
individual.
two
I remember that
cohorts,
they said they couldn't represent
so they can't be partners in the firm and be representing. So they share office space, but they're individual practitioners.
They're both.
Danny had it right. Mark Fonte, Lou Gellermino are my attorneys also on other
Small world
things.
in Staten Island, I hear.
Well,
but
they're
they
the
are
only
the
ones
best
willing
in
to
the
step up
business.
to the plate.
They are the best. Listen, Lou, I told a little bit of this story today at the rally, but Lou is my friend since like grammar school. And, he's a couple years older than me, but his brother is my age, right? And we're friends our whole life, like still close friends, went to college and everything. And Lou was the one that introduced me to these guys. He represents me on a million things, not criminal, thankfully. But remember, he said you got to meet these guys. Remember, we met at the office. Then we went to meet at the bar the night they came in. It's crazy. It was just crazy.
It's nuts.
You can't make this
And
stuff
Mark
up.
and Lou, not for nothing, they're not civil attorneys, okay? But they started representing the parents to get the kids back in the schools.
Right.
They filed a lawsuit. They got hybrid. They got the hybrid, even though hybrid wasn't everything we wanted, but they got it. You know what I'm saying? And then they filed at first to later, if you remember, to remove the curfew. Not the curfew. Remember they changed.
It was a bunch with the restaurants. It was
Yeah,
in that
they
summer.
were going. They were
did a
doing,
lot.
and these are guys like they don't do civil. You know what I'm saying? They're criminal defense.
Yeah.
But they were going way out of their comfort
Right.
zone to the point we were talking about before. You got to do like a little extra.
Right.
They're going way outside their comfort zone to bring lawsuits. They usually defend. And I tell Lou all the time, without them, the whole whatever the movement is or became, Danny and Keith had the balls to start it. But without them, it would be nothing because they really brought the legal mind and the credibility to
Right.
it that we know we're in the right and we got real guys, right? I mean,
Yeah, I would not have. I'm telling you this, and this is a fact, that Keith and I would not have done what we did if it wasn't for Mark and Lou.
Right.
Because they first stepped up and had the lawsuits and said that
Right.
they would defend anybody. I laugh with them all the time because they said that they would defend anybody who was getting, shut down or lost their liquor licenses or wanted to stand up to this. And then I called Lou and I said, hey, I want to do this. And Lou's like, no, you should not do this. And I said, but if I do stay open, will you defend us with this? And he was like, yes. He's like, I do agree that someone needs to do something.
Yep.
But I think that this is like suicide for your business and it's not going to go well.
Right.
And it
Well, I
will.
mean, I think that
I
more
don't
people
think
know.
I don't think he advised you to break the law.
He did it. And he kept
I'm
saying, like,
yeah.
I don't think that you should do this.
Right.
And I don't think he even knew how far I was willing to take
Right.
it. But he said, we will defend you and back you up because somebody has to do something. But yeah, he went on all the time to say, no, we advise him. This is not right. And you shouldn't do this. But he's always been there. He has always had my back. And I said, I was really graced with two guys who were my lawyers, but they've become almost like part of my family.
Right,
and
right.
we treat each other like we are, even yelling at each other
doubt.
sometimes. But
We
it's
need
great.
more lawyers like that in America because there's a lot of
no doubt.
lawyers on the right are afraid to represent cases like this. They don't want to get canceled. I think the next lawyer that needs to step up to the plate, and I don't know what lawyer in the world is going to have the balls to do this one, to fight the vaccine passport. Like, who's going to take that? I'm completely against the vaccine passport. I'm assuming all you guys are on the same page with that, but I don't know if there's a lawyer on the planet that would have the nerve to take that because it's such a controversial, hot topic.
It's, the tides are turning on it too right now because a lot of people, and they're surprised. There's a lot of Republicans right now that all of a sudden this past week flipped and are now saying, yes, we need it and we have to do this. And there's people that are like, I don't understand what's happening. And that's why I say you have to really look into this and who these people are and just not
which
say
Republicans specifically, because
Ron DeSantis, one of them.
yeah.
Ron DeSantis said we need a vaccine passport.
No,
Well,
not a
he's-
passport.
the vaccines.
The jab.
Ted
Yeah.
Cruz. And all these are guys.
I don't watch the fake news.
Mitch
Oh,
McConnell.
Wait.
Mitch McConnell even said.
Ted Cruz and DeSantis both said we need vaccines.
Mitch
Yes.
McConnell also.
I
Yep.
always knew.
And
DeSantis.
McConnell said if we
Right.
don't get
The
vaccinated,
lockdown's coming.
that the lockdowns are
Who
coming.
said that?
McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell, I know, is a traitor.
But let me tell you something
that's
about
in the
DeSantis.
given. But DeSantis, I had high hopes
So
for.
let me tell you something about DeSantis. So there's a bill, I think it's Bill A416, in the assembly right now.
I know what the bill.
It's
yeah.
going to get passed.
Right.
It will. And
A416. Which one is that? Is that the one for the vaccine passport?
that's the one
In
that's
New York
saying
State?
that they will. The governor himself has the ability to
Right.
determine who gets pulled out of their homes
Right.
and brought to a
It's
medical
the concentration
facility.
camp bill.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Written by that guy, Sick Nick Perry.
so
Right.
just
Right.
so you know, when DeSantis had that bill passed about a month ago that said no vaccine passports, in that bill was forceful vaccinations.
Right.
And I said to people, and then people caught it after it was signed already. And I said, if you think that DeSantis didn't and his team did not know that that was in there,
Which
they
claim.
did.
Which they
I
claim.
said, they did, and then they said, "Oh, we didn't we're gonna have to change that, I guess, because
Right.
it shouldn't have been there." And I said, "You have to understand what's going on." I said, "DeSantis, as much as everyone's praising him, and listen, I would love if he was the governor of New York, but he's still a politician, and he's definitely the governor of a major state in this country, not by chance or not because he was a good guy his whole time." And there's a lot of us that see that there is an agenda and they are pushing forward with
Right,
this.
they gotta
I
go.
said, if you ease up on any of these politicians and
Right.
even someone like DeSantis,
So-
they will sneak something
Right.
in and take
Right,
your liberties
That's
away
very, very
without
disappointing. And
actually
Ted
seeing
Cruz,
it.
that's even more disappointing because, even though everybody says he's like not the most personable guy, I always thought he was really smart
Yeah.
and on our side. But you're telling me now that he's pushing for this? Yeah, I'm going to have to go. Actually, I'm going to have to DuckDuckGo. I don't promote Google.
Right.
I do both.
I'm
You know what
gonna-
I do? I Google and DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
almost
See the
right
difference.
I'm
to
going
see
to
what
tell you
pops
next.
up
I
and
don't,
what
I
doesn't.
don't know if you guys ever heard of the Happy White Woman experiment. Have
No,
you heard
what?
about this? Could you have you heard of the Happy White Woman experiment? I want to show you guys something. It's interesting. I don't know what the explanation for this is. Derek, have you ever Googled happy white woman? All right.
I haven't. You
I
asked
think
me to do it, and I
I think I
did.
did the
Put
happy
it in
white
a
woman
Google white
experiment
search.
twice.
And we're not going
Oh
to comment
for
on
two
this
on
because
that
we don't know. I just want you to see how two different stratospheres of DuckDuckGo and Google.
Women plural or woman?
Happy white woman. Put that in a Google search and go
In
to
my
images.
book, you're a pioneer.
Images?
Yeah,
I love it.
You
I
are.
love what you do.
Images. Yeah, I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, but I'm surprised you didn't guys. This is the happy white woman experiment. Look at the happy white woman in picture 2. Okay.
That's a happy white
It's
woman.
showing the.
Go down and then we'll see. All right. And then you use your own judgment, whatever. This is, keep scrolling down. This is, if you put in for Google images, you want to have an image of a happy white woman. Okay. Keep going. Everybody do this. Go to DuckDuckGo, please. And let's put the same thing in DuckDuckGo. We live in 2 parallel universes is all I got to say about this. Happy white woman. Images.
Yay.
Well, I don't know what it means. Make your own determination. I mean, we live in 2 parallel universes. Google, put in happy white women. DuckDuckGo, put in happy white women. 2 totally different things come up.
2 totally different things.
Went off on a tangent. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Go home and do a little more research. Come up with your own conclusions. I don't understand
There are people
what.
that don't know what DuckDuckGo is.
Right.
Like, what did you just say?
I've been on
So
like
if
4
you
or
don't
5
know what
years.
DuckDuckGo is and you're watching this, it's basically Google, but without
CIA
restrictions
interference
or
yet.
what they
Sort of
want
thing.
you to see.
Right. So sorry to tangent off on that, but I was saying, how did this even come up? You were saying something, Danny. And then I said, happy white women experiment. We were talking about Google. We were talking about Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz and the vaccine. I think the last hope is Rand Paul. I'm a libertarian, even though I vote Republican because libertarians aren't. You're running for Libertarian Comptroller. I feel like Libertarian is the party to go, but unfortunately they just don't win
Right.
elections.
Yeah.
You know,
2-party
maybe
thing.
John will.
Nah,
Maybe
they don't
John.
They're not even on the ballot. The New York Libertarian Party. I'm saying they're a petition candidate.
Right.
They're
Right.
they're not ballot eligible. They have to, do nominating petitions to get on the ballot.
Right.
which
But I
that's-
respect that. And what you always tell me, what exactly is the main tenet of a libertarian?
Well, that the government shouldn't use force to impose their will on the people.
Right.
And
I agree
there
with
should
that
be
100%.
Right.
Our representatives we elect the right people and we get the right legislation. It's bipartisan and
Right.
they don't just come down and say, JT's in the Board of Elections. He's annoying the shit out of us today, so we're going to put him in handcuffs and throw him in jail because
Right.
he's a white hetero Christian from Staten Island, and nobody's gonna stick up for him.
Right, and that's
Right.
similar what's
You know?
going on, what we were doing today on January the 6th, because if you notice, mostly all the guys that's locked up are white guys, and they're trying to push the narrative of white supremacy when they clearly not white supremacy, when they clearly blacks was there, with Chinese there, all different type of people were
Right.
there, but they chose to pick on the white man. It's just like slavery, when it was trying to free the slaves. Okay, the northern whites fought to help free the black slaves. Now it's time for the blacks to come together and fight with the whites to help free the white political prisoners. It's the same exact thing. It's trying to step up and help these people. They down in the white man. They down in the white race, and we got to push back and turn it around. We don't need any more weakness. But I want to ask you, what kind of help do you need? We need to get all these business together and kind of get behind you and push it. Maybe get you some financial benefit or something. What kind of ways can the business community help you? I speak to a lot of business people upstate and not on that in New York City, and every small business need to come together and help the next one out. Help this one, and just keep moving on. So what do you need in terms of doing that? And we need to set something up for that.
You know, the small business community was something where everybody was together. If you worked on one street and you had a little shop, you knew you could call the place next to you and say like, "Hey, I'm out of this." That's how it was, and you helped each other. It's not anymore, because now it's been cutthroat, and it's just who can survive, and that's it. So I don't know where we go from here, because we have to now change change the culture of what it was to try to get back there. Right. And again, is what do we need from our local governments, from the state governments, from the federal government in order to keep business?
I say screw the government. I'm not on the page of what we need from the government. I said screw the government, because they're going to do nothing for you anyway. But it's enough local business leaders to financially help each business leader out that is in need. So this is what we need to do. Bring a coalition of business on there and just start off. Let's start off with you. Let's start helping this guy, and then we move from there to that. That's the only way we're going to come back. We got to help ourselves. If we don't, the government is not going to help you. They already got it out for you, so you're not getting any help from the government. Let's get a coalition of small business. Let's put this thing together and start helping each other and come back from there. Don't look for the government. The government's not going to do anything.
Well, what happened was we initially had support. So Max had support from the local businesses until I was politically persecuted, chased down, and then once the media got a hold of that, it went completely south from there. In every single business, every single one of them turned their backs on Max, on me.
Well, they did the same thing to you as they're doing with the political prisoners. They're using these guys as examples,
Right.
so everybody shuts the F up.
Right,
And
no
they
doubt.
use you as an example, and they terrified the rest of the small business
Yeah.
owners.
And then even when the narrative then flipped and we were able to show, hey, the sheriff lied, this is what really happened, the charges were dropped because of this. I don't know if it's just human nature at this point. The only place to actually give me a call and say, hey, I had it wrong. I was a supporter. Then I said, nope, I don't support these guys anymore. It was a guy in Texas, a restaurant owner in Texas, and said, I wanted to call you and say that I apologize, because I went on and then I told everybody, nope, I'm not supporting him anymore. And he's like, you must be getting calls from everybody right now saying like, hey, sorry that we did this, but we have your back again. And I was like, unfortunately, I wish it was the case. I was like, unfortunately, it's not. So I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, but there doesn't seem to still be a lot of businesses that are still upset that Max is closed.
Well,
they're all open.
Well, that's not what I get when I travel upstate. Maybe not in the city, but the upstate business, they are upset. What went on towards a small business. And I know these people be glad to come in a coalition and help out. So I'm going to look into it further. See when we put something together so we can start helping the business out themselves. And not only that, if a business don't want to help, then I don't think the patron should even go there. Because if you don't want to help your brothers and sisters in business, we shouldn't be doing business with you. These were terrible times. People were done wrong doing the business were done wrong during these times. So we need to come together at this point and form a coalition. I'll talk to Cara about it, and see when we get business up and going, see you get your business back up and going, because I know you need financial help. And every business help. I met up in Deposit, New York. When I was last week, I met this guy on the rock quarry up there. He's anxious to help people. He's very anxious to help business people. You know what they don't went through. It's like the guy on the sawmill, the farmers that sell the beef. These people need help, but they willing to help other business, and we can form this coalition and put it together.
It's different upstate than it is down here.
Right, exactly.
Like the people are more like-minded upstate. They're like kind of like Staten
telling you, it's
Island, but
cutthroat
like
here.
blown up, and people spread out a little. Like they have some sense in their head still. You know what I mean? So yeah, New York State is not like the city.
So, but we can do that, and we can start in Deposit, New York, because these people love me up there. The business people love me, and I know we can start a coalition, and we can get him help. Because he can't carry. I said the man has a family, has small children. He cannot do this by himself. Him and his partner.
JT's been one of the only help that I've had
I
throughout
know
this entire
JT's the
thing.
best. And JT, let's talk
From day one.
Let's
It's
hit on
only been him.
the political persecution of JT. Just John Tabacco.
Well, I think it's because of them.
Well, it all. He's blaming you
I
now.
don't mean it like that.
Let me tell you, I'm going to
it
brief
goes
the
back to
audience
that.
in. I know this is old news for you, JT, because this only happened to you a week or two. I mean, it was like over a week or two ago, and I know you moved on really quickly. But you were arrested, handcuffed, thrown in jail.
Few hours.
John Tabacco is running for city comptroller, and he was there at the poll booths watching the polls for his friend Mark Kempe, right?
No, I was they were opening the absentee ballots.
Right,
in
and we
the
know how
borough
absentee ballots
president's
go,
race,
right?
Vito Fossella.
So you got to be there watching
And
those.
Marco Kepi is the Mid-Island candidate, where a lot of Vito's opponent, Steve Matteo, was the councilman in that district. So we wanted to. Vito only had 150 vote lead,
Right.
and there was 380 absentees to still be counted. So if they came in on the exact average mean that they did in the general, fine. But because he was the councilman in that district for 8 years, I was thinking maybe he ran a little operation to get extra. So if those absentees would have come in disproportionately for the other guy, we could ostensibly lose on the absentees.
Right, it's important.
So Vito says, hey, if you're not doing anything, why don't you go down and watch the opening? Just, make sure we got this thing locked up and there's no shenanigans going on. Now, when I got there, I said, I'm a candidate. I want to go in. And they said, you can't. I said, well, I'm a member of the press. I want to go in. They said, well, you can't go in. You have to do a special form to get press. I go, the media does not have to go to you to ask you if we can cover a public event. What do you mean? I have to get a credential from you, so you decide what I. Anyway, no,
the way you talk is
can't
kinda
go in
funny.
like that. And then now Vito, who I'm down there representing, call him. I need the poll watcher certificate, thing, and he's in Great Kills, So as I'm talking to him, Marco Kepi's brother's walking by. And I said, can you see if Marco will give me a poll watcher, please? So 2 seconds, he came out, he gave it to me, right? So the Board of Elections was already annoyed, A, that I was there, okay, because they hate me down there.
Political
All right?
persecution.
B, exactly. They try to shut me. Now I have the certificate. I'm a certified
5
poll
minutes,
watcher.
yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted
Hey,
this piece of
I
paper?
can't go in here. You want this, right? Okay, good. Oh, you got to put your mask on. Well, I'm vaccinated. Here's my vax card. And your little survey in the beginning says no vax card. No, if you're vax, no mask. So leave me alone, please. Basically, you know what I mean? I'm here to watch this. That's it. Leave me alone.
They were
I'm not
trying
gonna
anything to
bother
keep you
anybody.
out of there.
I'll sit in a chair right here. Just let everyone else stay away from me if they're so scared. But everyone, I'm vaccinated. There's like 75 people in there watching the damn thing. And then, it just escalates to a point where the commissioners come over. They start trying to muscle me out the door, literally. And I'm like, that's not happening. I just stood my ground. I wanted to smash one of the guys, but I know that wouldn't be good for me. But I did.
So you went and you went to the police department. You told me you filed to have them arrested for assaulting you.
I did. I filed criminal
charges. Yeah, I think
against them.
defund the Board of Elections. They're obviously corrupt
intimidation,
people.
menacing. They grabbed me up. You know what I mean? Twisted my arm. Then some big security guard, rent-a-cop comes in. He's like tall guy. He's like leaning on my shoulder, but not putting his hands on me. But he's like on me. I'm trying to get these guys away from me. And hitting him with my shoulder. I'm like, how's this happening right now in the
What's
Board of
going
Elections? What is happening?
Right.
You know?
Because they feel like they could get away with it. They've been getting away with it. We've let
Because
them
they
get away
think
with it.
Good people just don't want the hassle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they go that extra mile to try to get
Right,
you
to
to
run your
turn
way.
tail
Right,
and walk
and
away.
walk away.
It's intimidation. You know what I mean?
Because 99.9% of people would have
just
been
go
like,
out.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not- I
true.
don't want it.
Give up.
Right, so we were nervous for you. There was a whole free John Tabacco campaign going on social media. I
No
think it
one was
worked.
nervous.
I think it worked because you were out in 3 hours.
That's true.
But so you got
He's
out.
a really good guy that went and picked him up.
Danny went and picked you
Danny-
up.
thankfully,
you know
Danny
what I mean.
was
I was
outside.
worried. We was shooting the first episode the night of the Wiseguys show.
That's
for
right.
Newsmax.
That's right. I'm
And,
sitting there. I'm sitting there. This is true. I'm waiting my whole life to get a late night prime time political talk show. Okay, I'm waiting my whole life for this. I've been on TV for 20 years, but this is what I want. 10, 11, 12, sometime in there. I want to be later at night so it could be a little looser, right? JT, you finally got it. And here I am. We have a 7 p.m. shoot, okay? I have the executive producer from Newsmax, the whole entire network, the top guy. They sent him to be at my shoot to make sure everything goes according to plan, meeting me at Bocce Restaurant on Richmond Road at 5 p.m. Come to Staten Island. Oh, I would love some Italian food. I'll take you to dinner, then we'll go over there. Okay? I'm looking at myself. After a while, my adrenaline is gone. You may have just destroyed your whole career by
Right,
taking
right,
a principle. I'm serious.
Right.
You know, when you're in there,
Possible.
just
Right.
even a couple of hours.
All you
you
have to
Yeah,
do
start
is
they,
think.
they could
you
have
just
done.
start
They could
talking
have
to
kept you in
yourself.
there longer. You're
And
lucky
I'm
they didn't.
sitting there thinking to myself, you're really going to have to square this up with yourself at some point, brother, that if you lose this show, like if I don't show up for the filming that night, who
'Cause you're
knows?
in jail.
But you never know. The network
No,
might
I
feel
know,
like
of
you're pretty
course.
irresponsible, pal.
Right, right.
You
Right.
shouldn't have got arrested
Right.
that
Right.
day, and see you later.
Well, I respect that you did that because you are setting a point. Like the Board of Elections is out of control. They're using this political
Agreed,
weaponry.
agreed, but,
I mean,
you know.
now that it's said and done, but I really do respect the fact that you did that, and I really mean that. People have to stand up, like you said.
I didn't think it was, honestly, I just did not think, my father was a cop. I had to do some serious soul search to stick with Danny, to be honest with you. You remember, and he was saying all these people, turned it back on him and everything else. I'm one of the biggest supporters of cops around because my father was a cop. I think they get a bum deal. And we had there was only like really 5 or 6 of us that were really proud to be part of it. Let's just say, you know what I mean? There were a lot of people, I'm with you. Everybody's with you. You know what I mean? Right. But when the chips are down, the shit hits the fan, there's like you either got a nucleus, that's your crew, or you don't. And like Vito was one of them. You know what I mean? He's a quieter guy, laid back guy. He's not the guy who wants to go out in a rally and meet like me and throw bombs and, help Keith write his speech. But Vito puts sane thoughts in my head. You know what I'm saying? And, Andrew Lanza's your highest ranking, in Staten Island. He's the most popular politician in Staten Island. He almost got locked up in front of the place, but we were all there. Scottlebado was, the inspiration. Scott was an OG activist when I was younger. He's older than me.
He doesn't look it.
Thank you, Gareth. I tell you, she's.
I didn't mean it
really-
that way. I didn't mean it
she's
that
blunt.
way. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it.
He's very blunt.
I did not mean it. I didn't mean it. I just said Scott. Scott looks like a kid. He does. He kind of does.
She
So
said
do
I
you.
might have a chance with you. She said the way you're throwing these She says the way you're throwing these compliments at me right here. Anything else?
No.
Oh.
I think it's cool when you have a cool.
Scott, I was saying Scott was like, to me, an OG activist. When they were raising the tolls on the Verrazano Bridge, Scott, and back then, they had the buckets where you throw the coins in and everything, right? And when they were raising it, Scott got like 50, maybe more, 50, 60 carloads of people. And started in Brooklyn, come across, go into each one of the tolls. Everybody pulls in a toll. Everybody pulls up behind them and start paying the toll in pennies.
That's too funny.
Okay,
Scott,
no, clever guy.
we're talking about Scottlebado, who's
Yeah.
a New York City, like I call him New York City's Michelangelo. He's a great artist.
Clever
he's
guy.
Very
You know what
smart.
I'm saying? So he was paying in change
Right.
to the cash ones because you could pay in cash.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I know he inspired, or at least worked with Danny and Keith and gave them some ideas on how to bring attention to it. And then I was like, well, I like these guys because when I was younger, I was crazy like this. You know what I'm saying? And I learned it from Scott, and he was crazy like that when he was younger. But when the cop incident happened, I was like, man, I can't be with these guys. They're going to be running over cops. I'm sticking up for cops, you know?
Right.
And we all literally sat where were we? In Scott's
So
Gallery.
what happened with that? I know you hit a cop with a car. That was an accident. Or
Well, no, it was
Yeah,
planned. The
it
cops
was-
planned it.
Yeah,
The cops
this
planned
was a
it.
setup.
whoa.
It was a political ambush. It
Because
was
I read the fake
purposeful.
news about this.
All right,
Right.
let me just tell you this, Cara. This goes back in history, okay? When the oppressors and the tyrants see charismatic people among the peasants, right? They immediately try to squash them with all the power they can. You know what I'm saying? If they keep springing up around the squashing, then what they do, the next tactic is to turn their own people against them. So what's the one way you can get a man of the people type guy like this?
right. By doing
What's the
something
one
like that.
way you can get him in disfavor with his people? Say he hurt a cop. Because everybody, we got to respect the law, right? The way they try to take him down was they weren't expecting to get run over get hit or jump on a car hood that day. What they were expecting to do was get him down the back alley, and then all of a sudden he was going to resist arrest. You know what I'm saying? And some cop was going to get some bogus knee injury. Another guy or girl was going to have something else. And then he's the guy who assaulted a cop. And then all those people hate him. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
It turned out looking even worse, but the end result was better because, sometimes it's good when you're an activist. We all probably know this, right? Everybody comes up to you, oh, Johnny, anything you need. Any help you need,
Yeah.
you call me anytime. You need this,
Right.
you need that. Anything
All
you
that
listen
talk.
to me. I know 10 people must tell you this, John, but you call me first, right? And I try to find resources and stuff, but anytime I do think, you know what? Let me see this son of a bitch. Every time I see him, he says call him, right? Now when I call him and say, hey, I need a XYZ, somebody in the import business. We're looking for, oh yeah, let me get back. You find out, right? Nobody's there for you. But he and I walked out together that night, and I was like, Dan, yeah, like all cash on you that night. You were like, what do I do right now? I said, Dan, just take the money, drive directly home. Remember, we were standing in front of the bar. If they wanted to get him that night, we found out later they had more
always
than a
came
dozen
to the front of
undercover
the bar
cars.
inside the bar.
Yeah.
So it was a
Always.
set, like this. It was sort of a setup.
Yeah.
100%
100%.
political
Disgusting.
setup. It was
Political
an
setup,
ambush.
that's what they did.
wanted,
Right.
They wanted to get him on the
Right.
ground
That's what they
And
wanted.
with,
it
with,
sort
a,
of worked
with,
because
a
I heard
resisting,
about that.
with a resisting
Right.
arrest and a
Right.
couple of injuries to some
Right.
deputies
That was
minor.
it.
That was
Right.
the plan. That
Right, because people like go say, "Oh, Danny hit a cop," and I'm like, "Really? I can't
was
picture
coming
that
like
happening."
he's
The fake
coming like a
news,
urban legend,
And now
or
when
a
you-
cult hero.
well,
Like
when you
these
put
are
it
the
in
guys with
YouTube-
balls in Staten Island.
Well,
you know what I
that's
mean?
true. And when you put a YouTube your name, it's like, "Oh, bar owner hits cop." So like
Right.
that's the first thing that
No,
comes
of course,
up.
that was
But it was
that
a
the
setup,
goal.
just like the Capitol was a setup. FBI
Right.
setup, like this is what they're doing to the people.
But that's why after everything happened, after that event happened, everybody turned their backs.
Well, I
Everybody.
didn't, just so you know. I was there, even though I'm from a different island, Long Island.
But
I was
then,
there.
yeah, I think it
That's
was
what
Scott's
designed to
studio.
do.
So I met up with, we had like a little team going. Like you dubbed us the Sons of Liberty.
That's right.
And we met up and they looked at me and I explained to them what happened. And I even said to them, I understand specifically to you and Scott. I said, I understand where you guys come from. Trust me, I will not hold it against you if you don't support me anymore after hearing this.
It was a real moment. It was a real moment. It was
And
just,
John and
see it.
Scott looked over at me and they knew that everything that I was telling them was the truth.
Right.
Like we created like a bond
Yeah,
right
yeah,
before
yeah.
that and there, and they said, "We got you." And Scott looked at me. He's like, getting a lot of shit for this,
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I will always respect them because guys like John, Scott,
Well,
Andy Lanza, Vito,
Right, Lanza
these
was
were the
there,
guys
Vito
that were
was
there,
there.
and they were
Me,
the only
you,
ones
Scott,
that
Andy,
stuck
Andy,
through.
Vito.
When a lot of people, it was the easy way. It was really easy for people to just
Right,
be like,
of course.
nope.
People, yeah.
And guys like
Yeah,
yourself
but and you
Scott
were
had a
also
lot to
right,
lose,
and you
a
were
lot
also
to lose.
fired up then, like super fired up with understandable reason. And I remember I said to you because Lou said, "Look, all right, we're going 100%, you know, blah blah." But Danny, like, you were like, "I'm gonna open tomorrow. I'm gonna go underneath. We'll hop the fence. We'll go around the back. We'll cut a hole in the roof. We'll swing down on the Mission Impossible string, you know." And I'm looking at Lou and Andy and Vito, who are really heavy reputational guys. Like, if we're gonna stick by him and keep fighting the fight, he can't just go rogue rebel on us because then we all look like asses. You know what I mean? And I remember I said, Lou said, "Dan, you can't go in there. You can't be going crazy, you know." And he was like, no. You know, it was emotional time, but I remember saying to you, I know, Danny, but tell me straight up, can you agree to that and give us your word on that you're not going to start going in tomorrow night and boarding yourself? Remember? And you said that
Going into the into
well,
Max.
you know, there was a
right?
way we were. It's not like I was against it.
No,
but I'm
of
saying there
course,
was a way
right.
to do it at that time.
Right, and you're like, it's
And-
nice that you have people that were around you.
No, and he
People
gave
that-
us his
Guidance,
word.
yeah.
He gave us his word that it didn't go down like the paper was saying, and he wanted to keep everybody's reputation on the team intact while we fought together for it.
Right.
And we believed in him right from there. Said, okay, well then we're in it. You know.
Well, I feel like that's a good thing that came out of a lot of this stuff that happened since the beginning of the pandemic. Is that like you find out who your friends are, like who your tribe is, like like-minded people.
Yes.
And
I still got a church in my house because of this pandemic. I'm not kidding.
oh, that's awesome.
I
yeah.
let this church, Chris, Pastor Chris, right? Came up to me after the rally and he said, well, you were great. And I said, well, Bob, I was just getting to know him. And I said, where's your ministry? He said, we don't have it. We were doing it in like Knights of Columbus or VFW. And now with COVID, they're all closed. So we're doing it at the beach. It's freezing out. We only have 6 people coming to Mass on Sunday. So I said, you got a certificate from the Real Life Ministries and everything? He said, oh, yeah, I'm a 501c3. I said, bring the papers down tomorrow. Let me see him. He came by the next day with all his paperwork. And I said, well, guess what? You now have a house of worship, my friend.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
what do you mean? And truthfully, there's 4 or 5 guys out there who, anytime I call, they'll do something like this. But how I built the outdoor cover.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, I built a whole outdoor shelter,
Had his
monster,
own
perfect,
Church of-
still
Yeah, I
there.
gotta
Church
come
of
to this
Tobacco
house of
was-
worship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I made a house of worship, and those guys built it for me in 2 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
That whole thing, 30
Yeah.
by 25 by 40, whole sheltered room, and then till I was out of there, I let them have mass there every Sunday, and they loved it. And everybody, people would send bagels and food, and I was like thinking, well, this is all God's plan.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I
Like-
met them, this happened, that happened. Next thing you know, I'm doing my show. I was in the confines of my living room, very comfortable, and now I'm in, a bar with no heat, and we're slinging the heat over the ceiling from next door, so I'm
forgot
not
about
freezing. And then I got a church going there on Sundays, and then when we had to get out of there, the pastor was like, well we don't have anywhere.
You're
Thank
coming
you,
out- you're
but,
coming home.
where we go. So I said, all right, well, look, I'm single. So I don't have a wife over there to nag the shit out of me about inviting a bunch of strangers over every Sunday. Just do the mass at my house. So
Yeah.
every Sunday there's a service at my house from
Open
the
to the
International
public.
Life Ministry. It is. It is. Many people come every
John
week, and
Tabacco's
every
house.
Sunday still from then till now, every Sunday 10 a.m. mass at my house. And
That's
you know what? I
impressive.
look at it as all the time as like that's still my good connection that God brought all this stuff to me.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I wasn't the most God-fearingest man most of my career because I worked on Wall Street. So, you walk with the devil every so often. But I started realizing that was part of my plan, and then bringing people together. And,
Right.
today I had to go to Pennsylvania for my son's ball game. The church is still at my. They still have a church.
And then
in
you
my
came to the
backyard.
rally. Thank you. And the one thing I got to say about like the whole shutdown, as negative and horrific as it was, I wouldn't have met you if it weren't for the shutdown, because it kind of brought us all together. And I'm really grateful for that. I've met so many wonderful people. We did a rally today in Foley Square. Derrick spoke, Danny spoke, Tabacco spoke, I spoke, and it's like this brought us all together. It's weird. So I'm happy about that. I don't know if you have anything to say, Danny, in closing. How can we follow you on social media and support you in any way that we can?
Yeah. So somehow social media. Actually, Instagram hasn't shut me down, at Max Public House.
Instagram is the least of the three evils.
Yeah, Facebook, I barely post on because...
it's
It's
disaster.
done.
It's
I
a
can't.
fascist book.
It's terrible.
Instagram has been letting me post, and I've realized as long as you don't go too nuts with what you say, I speak from the heart and pass things.
On Insta?
And then they're...
Yeah.
It's on there, so if you want to follow at Max Public House on Instagram, that's the main one. Just follow. Yeah, John, you got to get on there.
It's the least of the three evils. It's the least evil
Nothing
sister.
on Twitter?
So I just got into social.
Forget
media.
about Twitter. Twitter needs to go.
So I
Boycott
For the
Twitter.
meantime, Twitter's what's
tweet.
happening.
So I
Boycott
tweet.
Twitter.
I started a Twitter account just recently. I tweet and take a picture of it, as crazy as it sounds, and then post it on Instagram. Because on Twitter, it doesn't go anywhere. I don't know if they shadow ban it on that.
Yeah, probably.
Twitter
they
is
do.
so evil, and I'm just going to tell you.
I take the picture and I put it on Instagram
Right.
as a picture of my tweet, and it goes.
Freedom over fear, won't you?
Oh,
Well-
yes.
Twitter is completely the worst ever. Like, for example, I'll get like a lot of hate messages on there because I do certain things that people think is wrong, even though it's right. Like, try to help free political prisoners, and people will send me like very threatening messages. Then I'll, one time I'm like, this one was so actually horrific and actually scary. Let me report it to Twitter, and I got something back saying this does not violate our hate. Whatever. Yet, if I tweet out something like free political prisoners, I'll get a violation.
Yeah.
So they're such hypocrites,
Well,
and I
I
really
had-
hope that they fail miserably and that they go down, that they go bankrupt one
Yeah,
day.
they do need to. But
They're
for the
horrible
time
people.
being, Twitter is the platform for the time being.
Are you working for Twitter? The hell?
Undercover.
Serious.
Undercover.
Boo to Twitter. I don't like Twitter.
Yeah, but
really
I
don't
have
like
so
Twitter.
Instagram's the way to follow Max, and then I also started another account that's on there and a small little business since Max is shut. So it's called Freedom Over Fear. Same handle
Freedom Over
on
Fear,
Instagram
great.
at
Freedom
Freedom
Over
Over Fear. And I make T-shirts because a lot of people are asking like, "Hey, I want to support Max. How can I do it while you guys are out?"
Right.
So I make
Where
t-shirts
can we
for
get your
Max and
T-shirts?
It's freedomoverfearusa.com
Freedom Over
or
Fear.
the Instagram handle at Freedom Over Fear USA.
Okay.
And you can see all that there, and that's a great way if anybody wanted to support. Because I think anybody that's got anything are just supporters of Max in general. So
So everybody go
good.
support and get some T-shirts. They're very,
Yeah, get
very,
some
very
t-shirts. I make them
trendy
myself.
stuff. Good.
T-shirts.
Do you have any crowdfunding or anything like that?
Nope.
No. Well, if you have one, let us know because we definitely want to
Trying to
support
get
you
up
and
with
put that
John.
out there.
So I have some things with John where we're finagling some things to see what we can do with Max in the future.
Yeah. And
Right.
to John Tabacco, could you like tag out, let us know how we could see you, how we could follow you, and how people could, the many adventures of your exciting
Cara,
life.
I gotta tell you, I didn't want to come because I was tired.
Aw.
I'm being honest. Okay.
But you had a fun
drove-
time, right?
I drove from Pennsylvania to your rally today, which I didn't want to do either. I'm just saying,
Then you
I'm
see
a
Antifa
supporter.
standing there, you're like, what is going on?
No, I'm just saying. I have to leave at 7:00 in the morning, drive to Pennsylvania.
But you're such a patriot, you came out anyway. You couldn't help yourself.
And you said
John,
Danny was going. I thought Keith was going to be there too, so I thought it would be a nice Max reunion also. And then if I didn't show up, you probably would call me for the next month, cursing me out for not showing up. So it's like almost easier to do it, But I had a great time. No, I mean, I was joking around like I wanted to go home. I was tired. I've been driving all day, but I didn't want to come. But I'm glad I did.
it was a
We're
lot of
glad
fun,
you
right?
did, too.
We're glad you
That's
did a
right.
good speech. So where can we follow you?
I'm banned from TikTok.
Whoa.
I'm banned
That's
from.
for kids.
I'm
How
banned
does that
from it.
happen?
You made a bad dance video 'cause you have no rhythm.
I did a segment on my show, Liquid Lunch, on this guy. I think his name is Derrick Wade. He was one of the 3 founders of Black Lives Matter, right?
Exactly.
And I like doing like these really scummy, patient research on people. You know what I mean? Not just everybody could click the next link. You know, you got to go
you
to the
dig deeper.
footnotes and you know you got to really do it. And this guy from like the Minnesota Tribune, he was arrested for child sex trafficking. This Charles Wade, I think his name is, right? One of the 3 founders of Black Lives Matter. And he was running, you know, out of a little motel in Minneapolis or whatever. We had 3 girls that were underage, and he's putting them in rooms and bringing guys over to run a train on them every day. And he got caught. And it wound up that the girls were minors, so they didn't want to make a full case, and they didn't want to testify or whatever. So he pled to like endangering a minor, right? Instead of sex trafficking, right? So I reported the story exactly in a very concise 6-minute segment, citing, you know, local newspaper articles back then with the court documents, the public filings, and everything else. And it was a great piece on Instagram. It was blowing up. You know what I mean? And then TikTok just came in.
So you're
and
banned
said,
from TikTok.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
banned
can't
from
follow
TikTok.
John Tabacco on TikTok.
I'm
So
not-
forget about it. But you're on Twitter.
My Instagram page is there. Like
You're on
all my
Twitter?
old pictures are there, but I can't access my Instagram. Like it's there.
Are you
but
still on
I can't go
MySpace?
in.
I know that was more your era. Serious.
Still
Can you
on
find
MySpace?
where can we find you on MySpace?
Cut the mic.
You know,
Cut her mic.
there's only 4 seats on my show. This is your show, so you want to throw bombs over here. There's only 4 seats on my show, so yeah.
Oh, wow.
But we can find him on Twitter at John Tabacco.
I'm on my name on Twitter is Johnny Tabacco, and my name on Facebook these days is Johnny Tabacco because I got knocked off a few Facebooks already. But
If you don't get knocked off, it
I'm
means
saying
you're
this
not-
one they let
It
me
means you're
live.
posting cat pictures, and
Yeah.
you know you should just like freaking get a life. But you—that's not you. I'm saying that you are posting interesting stuff, and that's why
I'm
everyone
just saying
should.
I liked coming here.
Everyone should follow John Tabacco. Everyone
Maybe
should
I don't
follow
like
him
coming here.
because John has a new. He's the host of a new show on.
Yeah, just tune in Saturday nights at 10
tune in
p.m.
and Saturday.
Don't worry about
Wise
anything
guys,
else.
I'll be on the show as far as I know.
Go buy some T-shirts, make a donation to Derek's campaign. Anything
Watch
else?
Wise Guys on Newsmax at 10 p.m. Wise Guys with John Tabacco. I will be on it as well. And Michelle
see.
and Lou. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see about
so,
that.
and follow me at Cara Castronuova on all necessary evil social media platforms. Go to citizensapp.us, citizensapp.us, which is Citizens Against Political Persecution. Free political prisoners. Free political prisons. That's where you can follow me. And thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you, Danny. Derek, you want to sign out?
Yes, another good edition of Thoughts Villain. Cara, I caught the evil part, every evil social media. I caught that part. I love it. You can follow me at Gibson, the number 4, governor.com on Twitter, Derrick Gibson on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget about LinkedIn. I'm there also. But it's a great show. Great to be with you guys today. And we're going to do something. We need to see how we can get you to win this thing.
That's right.
You guys like
We need you managing the city's money, Johnny.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.